In today's video, we're going to learn how to create freeform fins using the FreeCAD Rocket Workbench. The first thing you do is install the Rocketry Workbench if you haven't already. This is fairly straightforward in current versions of FreeCAD. If you go to Tools and select Add-on Manager, this will bring up a dialog showing you the current add-ons available and downloads it dynamically, so you have the most up-to-date version. Once it's downloaded everything, it can scroll down and look for the Rocket Workbench. And we skipped right by it. There we go. Okay, now in my case, I already have it installed, but you would select the Install button here if you have not. And then it will go through the process of downloading and installing it. And when you're done, you select Close. At that point, it will ask you to restart FreeCAD, and you'll need to do that before the workbench becomes available. So assuming you've done that, like I have, you can create a new project. Okay, and from the workbench menu, you want to select the Rocket Workbench. So you have a few options for creating freeform fins, and I'll go through both of them for you. Let's start with just creating a stock fin. Okay, so you can see it's a trapezoidal fin. Let's look at it from the front. And it's a pretty straightforward plan form. So what I'm going to do is change the type from trapezoid to custom. Now you'll notice nothing has changed here in the fin. But what has changed is under the fin, you now have a sketch associated with it. So if you double click on that to edit, it brings you up into the sketch editor, and then you can adjust this as required. Okay, so this is not a tutorial on the sketcher. There are several good ones out there if that's something that you need to become familiar with. And if you're working with FreeCAD, it's definitely worth becoming familiar with. Okay, so I'm going to close that. So that's the first option. And I'm going to delete that and the sketch. And we're going to create one from a sketch. Okay, so let's select the sketcher. Now the origin is the front of the root of the fin. So it's the part facing forward, and aft is to the right along the x-axis. The body tube is also generally along the x-axis. So if you have a boat tail, for example, where it descends, you might have something that goes down, but generally speaking, you're going to have your root along that x-axis. So we'll create just a general shape here, and I'm going to use the multi-line polyline tool, I guess. And we're going to start from that origin. And I'm just going to create a shape here. Let's make it a little science fiction-y. And then you want to close that loop. So you need to have your sketch closed. And again, in this case, we're going to have a line along the body tube. Okay, so normally you would constrain this sketch, set the dimensions for each of the points, and so on. Again, there are some very good tutorials on sketchers out there. I don't really want to do that here. So with the sketch selected, I now select a fin. And we have a fin that is in the shape we wanted. Okay, so let's put that in a standard view. Now this is a square profile shape, so the leading and trailing edges will both be flat and perpendicular to the axis of flight. So I'm going to change that. Let's make this one an actual airfoil. Okay, and it takes a moment because this is a bit of a complex shape. And we'll make it a little thicker so that we can see the shape a little better. Okay, so let's make that 3. Okay, so as we scroll around, if we look at the root of this, we can see it is actually an airfoil. And you can make it thicker still. So let's make it a... Okay, so you have a little more exaggerated shape there. But I've made this an airfoil. You can make it whatever shape you like. Let's make it a biconvex, which doesn't look all that different, but it actually is. Okay. So the same will work with fin cans as well as fins. Okay, so if I delete the fin and use that same sketch, I can make a fin can with it as well. Now the fin can, the length here doesn't match the root of the fins, which is an interesting shape. It may be something you desire, but let's make the length a little longer. So the length in this case, let's make it double 120. Not quite enough, so let's do 140. There we go. That's close enough. Okay, so we can adjust our fin can length, and then we can adjust our fins as we did before. We can make them thicker. Let's make them 5 millimeter, and let's do an elliptical shape. Okay, so that's freeform fins in a nutshell. Very simple once you know the basics. Yeah.